in the 90s, there was that. Hey, Rich.
Hey, Rich, when you're editing,
I'm the host now.
we're going to learn about scary stories. Dun, 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 dun. All right, I'm back.
And we're back by popular demand, Rich Bray.
Welcome to Table Talk. I'm Rich.
And I'm Alex. And today we're going to teach you how to play Betrayal at House on the Hill.
That's right. And like you always know, we like to pair our board games with beer. And I'm pairing Betrayal at House on the Hill, which is a haunted house themed game, with a beer called sorry. I should know the name of the beer before I hold it up.
Yeah, come on, Rich.
Use Can't Leave is the name of the beer. And it's from Bronx Brewery.
Use Can't Leave?
Use Can't Leave. Use Can't Leave.
That's amazing.
Yeah, which I thought was appropriate for a haunted house type of thing. But it's from Bronx Brewery, which we are familiar with.
We've gone.
We have gone there. We have biked there before.
We biked there from Brooklyn, and anyone who is from and or has tried to bike from Brooklyn to the Bronx, that is no small thing. We were very proud of ourselves.
Oh, I definitely was. I mean, you should be as well, but you have more biking experience.
Well,
I was not really aware what I was getting myself into, I feel like, at the time.
Were we first friends when that happened? Or we were getting to know each other?
We were getting to know each other. We had met at a bar for our church, and then I think soon after that, you guys invited us out. But you guys were doing it for whoever wanted to go, and Andy and I definitely
that's right, because I still had the tour guide job, and that was actually, now that I think about it, I think that was one of the first times that I requested permission from my boss, aka the owner of the bike company. Hey, can I take these bikes out? I want to take some friends. Yeah. So that was really fun.
It was a day well spent.
It really was.
It was fantastic.
It really was.
But yeah, we biked all the way up to the Bronx Brewery, drank some beer, played some board games.
Yep.
I think we played some Connect 4.
Yep. Fantastic game, Connect 4.
Yep. So yeah, I already got my pour out. So that's the Bronx Brewery. Now use Can't Leave. What are you drinking?
So not to continue the tradition, and I promise this won't be I'm not being sponsored by these guys. Not yet, though. If you want to,
yes.
Come on, Ghosthawk. Come on, Ghosthawk. This is Ghosthawk Brewing Company, based out of Clifton, New Jersey, and this is their what they call the flagship lager. Which I got to say, folks, the only reason why I'm using the Ghosthawk in particular for this is that Ghost is in the name. I have no knowledge of actually why it's called Ghosthawk, which other than that it's cool to combine the word of ghost and hawk together.
Sounds awesome.
It sounds great. So that's what I'm drinking, a classic lager. Very nice for a very hot summer's day as such. So
got a good color to it.
Oh, it does.
Ghosthawk sounds like the name of like an assassin.
You know, I like that. Well, then here's to the assassin.
Here's to the assassin, Ghosthawk.
And to you, sir. Cheers.
Welcome to Table. For anybody who hasn't seen the Birds episode, the Ghosthawk was the same brewery for the Birds episode that Alex liked, and he liked it enough to choose it again.
Yeah, no, it's great. And a fun fact too is my brother actually is helped create content for them. So he's a video editor, a professional video editor based in Jersey City, New Jersey, and Clifton is actually where he used to live for a time. So. This is part of the perks of being an editor to create their content is that he occasionally will send shipments of Ghosthawk. So in this case, it's very good. Their IPA is particularly delicious. So if you ever get a chance,
as IPAs tend to be.
Yeah.
Yes. So Bronx Brewery, Ghosthawk Brewery, thanks for helping us out with this show.
Thank you.
We're talking about Betrayal at House on the Hill, and we're gonna teach you how to play it. Before we do, I'm going to admit that I am what's the term that we decided on?
Directionally challenged.
Directionally challenged when it comes to teaching how to play the game. Not to mention the tongue in cheek of the show anyway, is that we really don't teach the game. But when we do actually talk about the game, I'm not doing a really great job of explaining it. I've learned. I have a PowerPoint this time, which I think might help.
PowerPoints.
Giving myself cues on how to approach this game. So here, let me pull up the PowerPoint here.
This is such a, for I'm so looking forward to like a year from now listening to these things and realizing how much Zoom now affects everything, where like you can do screen share like this. Look at this, guys. This is
look how professional we've gotten.
Look at this, man. All right.
Betrayal at House on the Hill. It's what we call a tile laying game, where there's not really a board. There are tiles, right? And you kind of make the board as you go along.
Okay.
All right. And so the board will be different every single time you play it. It's an exploring game. You are different explorers. Here are the explorers. All right. So you're one of these characters, and you're walking through the house, and you're discovering new rooms. And each room you discover is a new tile that you place down. All right. Each of the characters have different characteristics. This is one of the female characters. You can kind of see around the picture of her, or the drawing. They even go so far as to give her a birthday, hobbies, weight, that kind of stuff, which really doesn't pertain to the game. It's just kind of all aesthetic, cool. Just kind of fun stuff. Everything on the side are different attributes that are kind of similar to like a D&D type of thing. Like if you've ever played D&D, your characters have different attributes, and that affects their play throughout the game. There's 4 key attributes: might, sanity, knowledge, and speed. So might and speed are 2 physical characteristics. Sanity and knowledge are 2 mental characteristics. So both are, the idea is throughout the game to increase these up to, you can see sanity there for this character is 8. So you want to increase them to the highest available spot if you can. Not usually will you get to the highest spot, but you want to make sure that you don't get down to the skull, which is at the bottom. So the idea is to build your character throughout the game. What you do is you walk through the map, and each tile has something that it's going to make you do when you discover the room. All right. So you can kind of see where the green character is on the right. Mm-hmm. There's a little squiggly line right underneath his feet. That's called an event insignia. So that means there's an event that pops up, and you have to read an event card, and whatever happens on the card you have to do. And that's either going to strengthen you or weaken you in the game. All right. And there are different things throughout the game that other characters can do to help you, or really everybody's working together at the beginning of the game. So usually everybody wants to help each other. But what happens? Oh, sorry. These are the events cards. So these are just some examples of event cards that you'll see. Creepy puppet, creepy crawlies, a lot of creepy things because it's a haunted house and things are creepy. All right. Omen cards are cards that you will come across throughout the game. And what happens with omen cards is you have to do what's on them, or they might be items that you can keep with you. But what happens every time you turn over an omen card, you have to do what's called a haunt roll. And when you do a haunt roll, you basically roll the dice. So here are the dice. You roll 6 of the 8 dice, and they're not regular dice, as you can see. They have blank sides on them.
That is creepy.
The highest number they get to is 2. All right. So what you do is you roll 6 of these dice, and you have to roll equal or greater than the amount of omen cards that are in play. So let's say you have, so these dice are showing 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you have 8 in play, then this roll wouldn't cut it, and you would have to start the haunt of the game.
So, Rich,
Yes.
I have a question.
What is it?
Do you have to wait in the jungle if the dice read 5 or 8?
In the jungle, you must wait.
Until the dice
reach 5
or 8.
That is up to you. If you live in a jungly area, that could be an aspect of the game that you would like to employ.
I do not. It's normally a temperate kind of not subtropical, it's temperate zone. Deciduous trees. You know what I mean? Yeah.
All right. So basically the whole game it's cooperative up until you get to the haunt.
Okay.
Haunt.
All right. That's cool.
So once the haunt happens, somebody becomes the traitor and they become the bad person, and it basically becomes one person against everybody else. So the game has mechanisms in it that select the traitor.
Interesting.
And there's about 50 different scenarios that can happen depending on which tile you land on and what the omen card is.
Sorry, do you mind clarifying? Did you say 15 or 50?
50.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
50 different scenarios throughout the game. So every time you play the game, it should be completely different from the first time you played it, even if you just have the base set.
That's fun.
Yep. So once the haunt happens, there's books. So at the top of this picture, you see books. On the left is the traitor, and on the right are the survivors. So the survivors get the right book and they read through the scenario. And on the left, the traitor reads through the traitor book and they read through the scenario. And it gives them different aspects of their play that are going to be known to them only, and some things that won't be known to the other players.
Okay.
All right. So then you basically do that until everybody dies. Well,
at least he's holding on to his lamp. I mean,
he's still got his lamp. So I guess in this scenario, pretend that the girl is the traitor and the doctor or professor is the one who got killed by the traitor. So the traitor usually gets monsters. There's different tokens that get placed on the board. They can control monsters on the board, different things like that. But short term is suffice it to say somebody either wins, either the traitor or the survivors. And and basically the traitor's whole purpose is to kill everybody else.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
And this is just kind of a cool photo. I thought was fun.
But it seems like the game's a lot of fun. How long does it take you to basically go from start to finish?
1 hour, according to the box.
Oh, okay.
I've seen it played faster than an hour. It kind of just depends because the haunt can happen almost immediately. Really
interesting.
If there's a one omen card and somebody rolls blanks, the haunt goes like that. The end of the game. End game is nigh. It's right there. I've seen some games draw out longer. It just kind of depends. Okay. But yeah, I would say 45 minutes to an hour is probably more accurate.
Cool.
So yeah, it's a big hit at the Bruin Boards events for sure. When Bruin Boards events were a thing.
I feel like we're all living out a haunt at this point. It's just like you're just kind of stuck in the middle of something. You're like, I don't know. Something's a little off. That is the genuine feeling. I like I'll have a great day, then all of a sudden I just kind of feel like, oh, it's just not the same. Something's off. Can't tell.
Yeah, all of 2020 is Betrayal at House on the Hill, pretty much. We're all just exploring new rooms and being told to draw cards and suffering.
Everybody's in on this. It's weird. Yeah.
But I wanted to give you kind of a feel for one of the haunts. So I wanted to read one to you.
Ooh, please do.
So pick a number at random, 1 to 50. 5. Oh, okay. Wow, that was fast. At that. Right there.
Just boom. I've been sitting on that number all day. I'm like a Sesame Street episode.
So I got the book in front of me. All right, this is.
But you're not supposed to read it, Rich.
I don't care. All right, look, no spoilers. All right, this game has been out for a very long time. I'm not spoiling anything.
But it just says "do not read." Isn't that like a classic horror trope? Like the second you read it, like something jumps out.
It does say that.
That's what it says. It says "do not read." Yeah.
Yeah. I don't care.
Okay.
All right. 2020.
Right. Go ahead. YOLO. 2020. Let's bring it. Bring it on.
Sorry if this does ruin the game for anybody. But
You'll just know scenario number 5.
Scenario number 5 is what we're reading. If you're about to play Betrayal at House on the Hill and you have Betrayal number 5, then stop watching.
Right.
And listen.
Stop watching now.
All right. So it's called I Was a Teenage Lycanthrope. I don't know what that word is. Tell me what this word is.
A Lincoln. Hold on. Yeah. Bring it closer.
Can you see it?
Oh, it's a lycanthrope. So I believe the lichens are part of. All I remember is from the Underworld trilogy with what's her face. I'll remember her name later. But it's like I believe they're like almost like werewolf type.
Was she a gymnast?
No, it's like
no.
Beckinsale. That's what it is. That's her last name. I think it's Caitlin Beckinsale. But there's lichens and then there's werewolves, and I think lichens are ones that are like not. I believe they can like sort of like interchange at will, whereas werewolves are like they succumb to the moon.
Oh, they're subject to the whims of the moon,
right?
The cycles of the moon.
I think okay. I have my legends correctly. So a lycanthrope, I'm assuming has to do with that. Yeah, I think
lycanthrope. Yeah. Somebody who knows more about that, feel free to comment. Moonlight streams into the room. Sorry, I'm going to get really close to the mic.
Moonlight streams into the room, caressing your skin. You stumble to a window and stare up at a full moon. Your mind begins to scream as it dies, even as your body howls with delight and newfound power.
All right. So then it goes on to give you different scenarios, how you can win the game, different things that give you. So in this scenario, somebody becomes a dog, and the dog has a speed of 4, might of 4, sanity of 3. So it gives you different attributes, and it goes through. And then everybody else is supposed to kill the dog. So I will read now scenario number 5 from the survivor to see what they have. So from the perspective of them.
A scream rips through the mansion, growing louder and more terrified, until you're sure you'll have a scream too if it doesn't stop. Just as you think you can't take any more, the scream quivers and deepens, turning into a howl of pure rage. Your shadow shakes as you realize you stand bathed in the light of the full moon.
Okay.
So yeah,
I'm sensing a moon thing here right now.
Yeah, there's a moon thing, something with the moon. So then basically, you play out the game based off of that. The survivors know something, traders don't. If the trader wins, there's like a winning narrative for the trader.
You glide through the house and on into the gardens, enjoying the soothing tang of blood upon your tongue. With a flick of your tail, you leap the mossy wall and land beside the driveway. Already you can smell the ashen sweat scent of more humans less than a mile away. Tonight's hunt has only begun.
Wow. Well written. Wait, ashen sweat scent?
Yeah, it is well written. You're right. Ashen
sweat scent. Okay, has more humans less than a mile away.
Okay.
And we'll leave it at that. We won't even read the winning scenario for the survivors because this is a ghost themed show, and we want the creepiest thing possible.
There you go.
That's it.
You gotta leave it hanging.
That's Betrayal. That's Betrayal at House on the Hill.
Wow.
So lycanthrope.
Lichen.
I don't know.
Thrope.
Lycanthrope. We learned something. Already.
We did, at least on a sheer concept basis, we did.
Oh my gosh. Well, it brings up the question: would you invest in a house you knew to be haunted? Would you be interested? So we're two young men yet to have owned our own houses. Well,
yes,
yeah, right,
yeah.
So we you've been in LA, then we've been in Brooklyn, New York. We haven't really bought any houses, so now we are probably going to be in the real estate market pretty soon.
Which is a weird feeling.
Yeah,
weird feeling. Not
looking forward to having my own lawn. But would you in your real estate search, would you buy a house if you knew it was haunted?
Now, okay, so a couple of preliminary questions I have.
Sure. Yeah.
So one, let's say you're on Zillow. Is the haunted advertised? It's like $5, 4-bedroom house.
Let's take that scenario. Yeah.
All right. So
it's one of the search engine, like you can list like haunted in the search.
Right. And then it's just like, and all of a sudden it's like your budget's like, less than $1,000. And it's like, 50 are on the market or something.
Right. Yeah. Let's go with that. Yeah. It's popularly known to be haunted and it's being marketed as such.
Okay. So it's actually like almost proud of itself in that way.
Yeah.
All right. So I would take a couple of steps. One, I would need to know why it was haunted. If it's like for some like murder guy, like straight out of The Shining, heck no. No way. I'm not doing that. Now, if it's like a little more of a benign situation where it was just like somebody just happened
benign haunting.
A benign haunting? I don't know. If it was like some random kid that just happened to pass away or something, or a dog. Maybe it's a haunted dog. No one ever talks about haunted dogs. Like that's the thing that always interesting to me. You ever ghost dog? I mean, Ghosthawk, but like ghost dog? I don't know.
Ghost dog?
Yeah, ghost dog. I don't know.
This sounds like an awesome movie. Wait a minute. I feel like
I mean, there's the All Dogs Go to Heaven, but there's that.
Oh yeah.
Which is anyway.
That movie was more creepy than anything else.
Yeah, it really was. It really was.
Was this supposed to be like an inspirational story?
Maybe. I contend with, and there's a couple of things I'll talk about later, but I contend that there's some of these movies that were made for us kids at the time that when you look back, you're like, this is actually pretty terrifying.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, we're already on movies. We've already gotten there.
Well, we'll get, okay. So in terms of the investing, before I forget.
Yeah.
This would be the number one rule that I would have. If I were to invest in the house, one, I would not pay more than $1,000 for it. That's just rule number one.
Okay.
Because I figure, hey, if I can buy the property, I'll just demo the place.
I mean, what if it's like a really nice house though?
If it's a really nice house, then I do the following steps. Okay. I would have a priest come in and bless it, exorcise it, not like Jim, but like exorcise. That's a common.
Get out of here, ghost.
Get out of here, ghost. While I work on my right arm. That's the thing. It's like the ghosts don't leave because we're doing it the wrong way. We just need to set up a gym and then they'll get out of here.
There you go. Yeah, that's what they really mean by exercise.
Right. You need to do more exercise, guys. More exercise, less ghosts. Exactly.
The ghosts are more upset that they don't have a workout station.
Right. Like, well, I feel like that would frustrate the ghosts even more because there's no physical way to grip the bars. Oh man. Anyway, I'd have a priest bless it, which was one of the biggest reasons why Paranormal Activity annoyed the heck out of me. One, I won't watch that ever again because it creeped me out. But two, there was that weird thing where like I think it was like 10 minutes before the ending, all of a sudden they're like, oh, we need to contact I think they literally called it like a spiritualist or some general term, I guess.
Yeah, right.
And the guy comes in, and I can always tell when a movie is like made really inexpensively is based on one, how many cast members they have, and then two, when the supporting cast members show up, how long they're actually on screen, because you're paid by a certain amount, based on screen time or lines.
Right.
So this guy comes in, he's a spiritualist of some kind, and he goes in, and his whole thing is like, whoa. Guys, the spiritual vibe energy is just a little too much. I gotta get out of here. And he like ducks out within 30 seconds. And all I can think of is like, all right, this is just really dumb. If you're watching this footage, one, you claim that you're documenting this thing. So if you're watching the footage and you see, I think his girlfriend is like standing over him for like 2 hours, just staring blankly. It's like, okay, one, just get out of there. Get out of the house. Yeah. Like clearly there's something wrong. But two, right. If you know something is wrong, you contact an expert. I always thought that if you contact an expert and consult an expert about a particular topic, like for a pandemic, a scientist is probably going to be the best person to talk about it, or a hair salonist.
if I have a bad hair day, hence why I'm wearing my hat, I'm probably going to go to a barber. That is my preferred instance. In this case, I would contact someone who would be aware of those matters. That would be my biggest rule if I was to invest in a house that I paid less than $1,000 for a haunting that didn't have to do with murder. If it's murder, I'm out. I'm gone. No thanks.
I love how you categorize different levels of haunting. So you're more willing to accept that if somebody murders, they're more likely to be like badly haunting a place.
Well, this is an interesting ethical ghost question.
Yeah. We're getting into the ethics of it.
A hypothetical ethical ghost question.
Sure. Yeah.
To me, there is, and maybe this is just in a way filled in by my, things I've watched, things I've read, about like different stories about if they have ghosts or whatever.
Right.
There's just a piece of me that senses that there's a little more of a like rage aspect of haunting that comes with those particular kinds of things. At least so the stories go. Again,
right.
Who knows really?
Right.
But I know that like if anyone who's heard of Amityville Horror is that it's actually based on I think it's based on a true documentation of a family that moved into this place in Amityville, which I forget where it is. It's somewhere in the Northeast, I think.
Okay.
And documented like there was some serious like, it wasn't just ghosts, but it was like there was something bad. There was some bad stuff going there. Yeah. And I think they ended up moving out within, however many a month, 2 months, whatever.
Right.
So there's things like that. Whereas like, I know traditionally for instance, in theater, there's a thing called a ghost light, which is a kind of a tradition. It's you leave a single light.
The ghost light.
Not the mater, not tomato, not mater. But in theater tradition, there's a thing called a ghost light because and I think the tradition comes from, especially in Broadway, is that there were old dead actor and actresses that would haunt the stage sometimes, at least so the story goes. So you leave the ghost light on. And what I can't remember is if the ghost light is to ward them off or to light their way for them.
What is the ghost light? It's just a spotlight?
It's just a single spotlight that's always kept on in the theater. For one, I think it's security purposes so you don't trip over the stairs or steps or, whatever in case you have
So you don't become a ghost.
Right. Exactly. That's what it's for.
That's why it's called the ghost.
Yeah, that's what it's for, ghost light. But that I've always found an interesting tradition. And there is obviously that like, there's a sense when you're a kid and your house gets really creepy with the corners and the darkness and, you leave the night light on, which is always fascinating to me because now as I'm older, I kind of like it when it's dark, where I'm just kind of like, yeah, I'll turn off the lights. All right. I'm good. All right.
Did you have a nightlight
growing up? I think so. I think I did.
Okay. I don't think I did.
I don't know if it was direct. I can't remember if it was directly in my room or if it was like my door was open.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Now
we would leave our door open. Definitely. Yeah. My brother and I shared a room, so we would definitely leave our door open.
Nice.
But I don't remember like a nightlight. That's what's kind of funny about living in the city is that like you get a nightlight whether you like it or not.
Right. Which I actually, it's funny having lived in the city, and I don't know how I'm gonna deal with this particular change wherever we end up landing.
Right.
I remember this happened a couple months ago. We ended up, I forget where we were, but it was a regular house. And I went to sleep and I shut my eyes and all of a sudden I open it and I'm like, I hear nothing. Like I hear nothing. And it creeped me out, which may be sounding like it's crazy for most people who are hearing this, but there's a certain amount of like general noise when you live in a city that in a way is almost comforting. Yeah, because that there's other people around, things are happening, that kind of thing. And there's always that. Yeah, there's always that, like almost like in Close Encounters of the Third Kind with the aliens, which there's some of those scenes are kind of like borderline horror, where like there's that moment when the mom, the kid gets abducted, but the mom is like witnessing and it's really quiet, and then you hear the wind rustle, and then all of a sudden you see the clouds come in, and then all of a sudden the alien shows up, and it's like you're all by yourself, like you there's no one else, and like the last
nightmares tonight.
I know, right? Alien abduction, I think, is the creepiest of the horror things because it's still the most unanswerable thing. So
If the home was to be invested in with alien abduction, no way. I'm out. Not doing it.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely not. No. Well, it's interesting. So, a few things. Number one,
what would you do?
I should have warned you before we started that you're going to be way out. I'm way outmatched with horror movies references because I don't watch horror movies.
I don't watch many, but there's a few that I like.
Movies. So like Paranormal Activity, I haven't seen. I know enough about it to understand what it is. But
if you enjoy your sleep,
I do. But it's more, it's scary movies, horror films are. I kind of just get too frustrated with them. Like
because why?
Plots mainly like you said with Paranormal Activity, like why are you still there? Like I just can't get behind a character that's dumb enough, to like get into a lot of those positions. So Halloween was definitely a movie I liked.
That's well done.
Creepy. Yeah, the original Halloween. Very good. Probably the only what would be considered a horror movie that I really liked. But anyway, so that's number one. Number two, it's funny how close this conversation is to the alien conversation that we had before. Okay. I think episode 3, 4, whatever.
Oh, what's it called?
This is for you.
Oh yes,
you put that on.
Oh yes.
We don't have to wear this the whole time, but I thought it'd be funny. It's gonna mess up your hair. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
And it doesn't protect the back of your head. But I wanted it to be a surprise for you.
It's one of those things I always face. If I'm going to face an alien, I'm going to face it, face forward.
Yeah.
Kind of like.
Or head down.
Because it's interesting because it's, like, do I really believe in ghosts? I don't know, really. Do I know that there's people who do believe in ghosts? Yes. And is it weird? Do weird things happen that I can't explain? Yes.
Right.
So it's kind of close to the alien conversation where I like it more as a conspiracy than like actually like
happening,
thinking that it happens. I don't know. Like, I think I'm on two different levels of believing them, but ultimately not choosing to or not at the same time.
It's an interesting thing because I think it's the Catholic tradition. Mm-hmm. Some priests are actually trained in exorcisms, I think.
Right. Yeah.
And that's like a whole, like I haven't waded into the research about that, mostly because it would terrify me. Right. But it's an interesting thing that it's still like the like what you're saying, the hypothetical is almost more interesting than actually knowing the outcome.
Right. Okay. First, real estate. If I was looking into a house that I knew to be haunted.
Right.
I don't think I would care very much. I would almost try to hide it from Andy, my wife, and just be like, I really want I think it would probably increase the interest on my end, especially if it was like, because most houses that are haunted are super cool looking.
But here's the thing, Rich, that's how all good horror movies set in a nice house start.
I don't care.
Hey, this house looks great, honey. Let's move here. This is fantastic. Yeah. And then everything happens.
But there's the thing. I'm not going to be stuck in a horror movie because I'm a smart guy. I get to make my own decisions. If something starts like if I see a knife floating in the air, you know what? Hey, maybe we should get out of here. Maybe we should.
But then you got to think about all the mortgage fees and the seller's fees. And then you got to go through all that process. Maybe that's the whole reason why people don't leave, is that there's all red tape to actually sell your house.
Right. I think, there's a few things I think that would make it worthwhile.
Okay.
Number one would be I could create a YouTube channel solely based off of documenting the weird stuff that's going on in my house. I could open my house to the ghost hunters. Have them come and have them pay a significant fee. I think I could make some money off of a haunted house.
Okay, so I have a question. If you're trying to hide this information from Andy, how would you film? How would you have them come in?
No, just initially I would hide it. After we have signed, crossed the T's and dotted the I's, I would be like, oh, by the way, this house is haunted.
That's great communication there. Yeah, real good.
Yeah.
Oh my.
I love my wife. I would never do that to her. but in theory, it's kind of funny to think about.
In theory, yes.
Yeah. So that I think I could probably make some money off it. I think Halloween would be so fun.
Okay.
With a haunted house that I knew was haunted, and that if I developed a relationship with the ghosts that was kind of like, hey, I got some people coming to the door tonight that would like, I don't get a great deal of pleasure from scaring people, but if you like it, go for it. Like,
so would you draw the line as to like who that ghost would be able to scare? Or is it just like free for all? Like your brother, free for all. No problem.
It's free for all.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
I kind of would, I think, steer into the challenge of developing a relationship with the ghost. I feel like that would be something I would be into, and just being like, hey, like, I really don't feel like doing the dishes tonight. You think you can do it?
And I could just see someone going down for a drink of water, dishes floating around, doing his thing. Oh, that's a strange, clean-looking dish, sir. That's floating away. Oh, there goes Rich.
I don't know, but yeah, I think those two reasons would be the main reasons that I wouldn't mind. Okay. So let's get into this. Ghost stories. Do you have any? Have you had any experiences?
I have a hypothetical one that I think might have been something.
Okay.
So I was in college. So this was, let's say 2000.
That's at Syracuse, right?
At Syracuse, yes. Okay. And I was home in Virginia in a place called Annandale for Christmas break.
Okay.
And for those of you who are in college or who have been to college, will know that there's usually a significant time. Like it's ironic you pay a lot of money to go to a place that you actually spend less time in than in high school. But
yeah, that's true.
It's very interesting. So I'm back, and I think we got like 2 weeks left, a week and a half left. It's between Christmas and New Year's, and there were some kind of friends in the neighborhood that were going away up north, I think, to some, I don't know, cabin for the winter, some visiting thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, would you like to take care of our dog? Yeah, sure. I'd love to take care of the dog. So his name is Frodo. Well, his name was Frodo. I think he has since gone to the great beyond. And Frodo is kind of one of those, like, I don't remember the breed, but I think it's like a setter of some kind. But it was like he's kind of that black and white dotted, stripy, blotchy look. When he got old, his eyes kept on becoming more droopy.
Yeah.
And Frodo, very friendly dog, very energetic. And so I'm hanging out, and I have my brother come over, and my brother's 7 years younger. So when I'm in college, that means he's basically, I think, in middle school. And he came over, I forget what we were watching. I think like Star Wars or something. And he was looking for something to do. And I had him over, and we're watching. And then there's this moment where, and this is in the basement, and it's a really big house. Kind of like the Jumanji kind of house, kind of the house that I would never own myself. But
that should have been your first sign.
I know, first sign. So it's really big, right? And all of a sudden, we're kind of watching this movie, and then we look around, and we're like, "Where's Frodo?" I don't know. When was the last time you saw him? I don't know. And then we started
being followed by Boromir.
Well, and then we started going through the house, and we still couldn't find him. And we're looking around, and we look through every single room. And then all of a sudden, we check one of the big rooms in a closet, and he is inside the closet, cowering, and he wouldn't come out.
What?
And we're like, what? I get still right there. And then all of a sudden,
sorry, at this point, are you wondering how did he get into the closet?
No. I'm not wondering how he's getting into the closet. I'm wondering why, because as anyone knows, when a dog senses something is like, when a dog is like afraid, right, and like ducking in a corner, you're like, all right, something bad is happening.
I guess I'm missing the point. Is the dog capable of opening doors and getting into a closet?
Sorry, the closet was already open.
Oh, okay. Because right there, I'm like, whoa, that's like paranoia or paranormal.
with a little pause. Well,
like, how did he even get into the closet? I'm sorry. I'm completely.
It was a Twilight Zone episode. No, it's fine. So he's sitting there. We'll start over.
Okay. Yeah.
He's sitting there, cowering in the corner, and then all of a sudden, James and I hear this coming from the roof, and we're like it's like 3 floors up, and then Frodo books it out of the closet, and we're like, all right, this is just bad. So I call my dad, and I'm like, Dad, I don't know what's going on. The dog's freaking out, and he's like running away from us and just wants to hide someplace, and we just heard something, and do you mind coming over or whatever?
Thanks.
So he comes over, and I love my dad. He comes over and has a Louisville Slugger in his hand.
Oh, nice.
Which is a baseball bat, and the classic wooden bat. And he comes in, and we're walking around, and he's like, did you hear anything else besides that? No. And we're looking around and we're checking everything and nothing is wrong. And he's like, I think we're okay. And so I'm like, okay. And like any great horror movie, we stayed in the house and we finished watching the movie and nothing else happened. That was it. But the whole like dog in the closet thing, that always stuck with me, how afraid he was. And I still don't know what it was. It was probably a raccoon or something on the roof, but it's always kind of the fun. The other story I have is,
I think next time you tell a story, the closet door should be closed.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Next time. I mean, I was on the edge of my seat, definitely.
Oh, and you thought the closet door was closed and I opened it and then there the dog was.
Yeah.
Interesting. That
would be, I mean, not that I condone fabricating stories for your own benefit, but
right. That's okay.
Yeah. That is scary.
Yeah.
It's like the anti-Santa Claus came to visit you.
Right. What is it called? Krampus, I think is the movie. There's a horror movie about that. Krampus, actually.
Yeah. Or like Dwight Schrute's, whatever what did you ever watch The Office? I forget the guy's name. Basically hit people with like a switch and told them if their year was impish, if they had an impish year or something like a fertile year or something.
Interesting way. Do you have a personal story?
I honestly don't. I should. I grew up in a house that was built in 1886.
That would be old enough for that kind of
thing. I mean, I really should have probably a whole bunch of them, but I don't think we did. I think, so I grew up Hamilton County, Indiana, in a place called Westfield, Indiana, on a 400-acre farm built by my ancestors in 1886. They had moved there from North Carolina. There you go. And yeah, I mean, it was it's a great house to grow up in, but it was old. But to be honest, I was more scared of like snakes and stuff. Like,
right.
I had more run-ins with snakes, both in the house and outside the house, than I did with any ghosts. The only ghost stories I can think of, my dad had a ghost story, not about that house, but about my grandmother's house, his mother's house, which equally old. Not sure what date it was built. It sat on a busy enough road, and it sat kind of at the curve of that road. So cars would like come this way and they'd curve, and the house sat right there on that curve. Right.
Interesting. Okay.
So my dad has a vivid memory of waking up and following a very bright light, which he thought was, and this is when he was a kid, a very bright light that he thought was a phantom, a figure of some sort. And he followed it outside of his bedroom. He shared a room with my uncle at the time. And this would have been I think it would have been his grandmother's house at the time too. But anyway, followed it outside the room, opened the door, because it had appeared to go through the door, opened the door and followed it. And there was a staircase, and it was a kind of one of those zigzag staircases.
Yeah.
So he went down to the first landing, and he had followed it down there, and then it kind of pressed itself against the wall and kind of vanished against the wall of the landing. So before, he was kind of like in the middle of the stairs, basically.
Weird.
Yeah. So, and I mean, he's told me that story before. But now looking back on it, he's like, I don't know. Like, he's like, it seemed like it was a person that was like just kind of floating. Right. But now, like, when he thinks about it as a logical adult, he's like, it could have just been the lights of a car come like gradually. And, back in those days, cars didn't drive, 60, 80 miles an hour down the back roads. Right. It could have just been a car traveling pretty slowly and then eventually just kind of turning off. And the lights just disappeared. So he doesn't know, but that's probably one of the more prominent ghost stories I'm familiar with. Andy definitely has a lot. So Andy, my wife, she's got plenty. And
she could be a ghostbuster.
She could definitely be a ghostbuster. She has a couple stories. So the house she grew up in, she feels was haunted.
And was it also an older house?
I don't know how old it was. I think it was like probably 1930s, 1940s. Okay. So she has a few vivid memories of trying to shower in the bathroom, her mom's bathroom specifically. So the bathroom off of her mom's bedroom, showering, and then the lights going off suddenly. Nobody else is in the house.
That's always disconcerting.
And it's not necessarily that the lights just went out. The light switch is off.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. And and she had to like turn it on. She had to get out of the shower, turn it on again. And then it went off again a few times. So that she had a few instances of that. She also claims to have, she could hear somebody whispering, same house. When she was a kid, hear somebody whispering in her ear and somebody that was like breathing on her ear. The probably creepiest thing is, so it was her mom and her sister that were at the house at one point, and the bedroom, her mom's bedroom, she went into the room, or no, sorry, her mom came asking her and her sister if anybody had been laying in her bed. And both her and her sister were like, no, we don't lay in your bed, Mom. And apparently the bed had been made. It had been folded like what do you call it? I should know this, military.
When you do the folding the sheets and everything?
Fancy folding, basically.
Right.
None of them even knew how to do it. Like nobody could even, like, they couldn't even like understand, like nobody understood how to fold sheets that way.
Weird.
Basically. And then the bed was folded that way. And
at least it's a neat, consider it.
Exactly. That's why I'm thinking, like, if there is a haunted house on the market, like, I'll take the risk, right? Like, what are the odds that it's a murder? Like, what if it is just like somebody that's just like, you know what? I was trying to get to heaven. I just don't know where it's at.
See, but this is my question. Is it one of those like, because do we talk about the Sixth Sense or don't we?
We can. I don't.
Like, okay. If for whoever
spoiler alert
hasn't seen the Sixth Sense and doesn't know what is actually like, there's a couple reveals in it, and I'm going to give one away in particular. It's not what everyone knows the Sixth Sense for, but one of the kids can see dead people. And so the task is
he sees dead people.
So one of the realizations he comes with is maybe he's there to give whatever ghost basically peace of mind, be at rest, be able to fulfill whatever thing that was holding them back. So my thing is like, well, if it's that kind of opportunity for you, then okay. But the problem I have is like, I just don't know. And if it's being sold for that cheaply, like that is a sign to me. That's a red flag, because if it's a benign situation, then likely you'll be fine. And the person who's owning the property isn't going to necessarily want to, jet. So, I don't know. It's weird. I mean, did you ever read Goosebumps as a kid?
Oh my gosh. I didn't read it. I honestly I didn't know much about, I wasn't a big reader when I was a kid.
Okay.
But the show I was kind of familiar with. I have a memory of watching the show at my babysitter's. And I think right after that, or sometime near that, we watched a Freddy Krueger movie.
Okay.
With it's a horrible visual, even to this day as an adult.
Is that the one with the scissors for hands or knives or whatever?
No, that's Edward Scissorhands.
No, but isn't Freddy Krueger with the
Yeah, I think he does.
He's like the dream guy, the guy that like
he's the dream guy.
Okay, yeah,
yeah. But one of the movies or one of the, I don't know. I wasn't this familiar with it, but I have a memory of being at my babysitter's. We were watching Goosebumps, which is a child's horror series,
which I still don't know.
Yeah. Why?
Why do it too?
Yeah. Highly successful, right?
Yeah.
But still, yikes! Who came up with that idea? But I think sometime near after that, because maybe I think our babysitter was maybe out mowing the lawn or something. I don't know what was going on. I have the memory of like Freddy Krueger and the guy. There's a guy like the veins from his wrist. Sorry, this might be a little too graphic, but the veins from his wrist are like shooting up into the air, and Freddy Krueger's like moving him like a puppet from the veins that are coming out of his wrist.
Ew, that's weird.
I watched that like I couldn't have been older than middle school, and I was freaking out. So for some reason, I always associate Goosebumps with that because I think we watched it in the same sitting. I think it was one of those things like we watched an episode of Goosebumps and we're like, oh, like we should watch this Freddy Krueger movie because
yeah, that's like going from like a 10 mile an hour bicycle ride to all of a sudden being put a rocket engine on that bike and then being like, all right, and then there you go. You got to deal with whatever you're getting.
Yeah, we went from the carousel to the vortex. Yeah.
Wow. So I never read Goosebumps, and I remember only seeing an episode. I think my parents in particular were aware of what Goosebumps was, and they're like, nah, there's other stuff and again, I don't think it was it wasn't an action out of like fear of corruption or whatever. Right. I think it was more just literally, it's like, one, my child, I'm talking in the voice of my parents, hypothetically.
Right.
One, my child sleeps well, so therefore we don't want to affect that. But two, it's like there's so many other good stories out there. Some creepy, some not, whatever, that are probably going to be less imprinting on the child. I remember one in particular that I saw. I think I was at a friend's, and I loosely remember it. It was just very weird to me. But it was the one where like it's like Charlie or Chucky, or it's not Chucky, but it's like a version of Chucky for Goosebumps. So it's like a doll that comes to life, and it's a guy. It's like a ventriloquist doll. Again, I don't remember the name. Yeah. Which always made me wonder. I'm like, okay, so there's this doll, right? It's this thing, this cloth plastic thing that is anthropomorphized in a way that is supposed to be creepy. Nowadays, I look back and I'm like, okay, so there's that. And then there's the Muppets / Toy Story characters. And those are the same kind of thing. And they're not supposed to be creepy. And I tell you, there are friends of mine I know, and I don't know what the phobia is, but it's basically like Muppetophobia, where like the idea, and claymation is this way too, where like for whatever reason, the fact that the puppet is alive is a very creepy, almost like horror-esque aspect.
Yeah, it's the idea that something has human characteristics without being fully human.
Right, fully human, which to me is really interesting because like I think a lot about, let's say, what Disney has done, which is brilliant. They've put the human soul, psyche characteristics into things that frankly don't have it, like in real life, like Bambi with deer. For anyone
Bambi's mom.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, my whole thing is it's interesting how Disney has tapped into this anthropomorphic. Thank you. Characteristics in all these things that literally, like, they could make this beer mug be a character, and I would feel for it. Like if I know that by the end of when this beer ends, it dies, or something like that.
What's interesting about that is, and I didn't think about this until now, in that first Toy Story movie, they get away with both of those aspects.
They do, which is a fantastic way that they, and I think it's a great reason why it's in the top AFI for top 100 movies.
Yeah.
Is there's that rule in their universe as toys
that humans cannot see them being alive. And then they break that rule when Sid, who's a torturer of toys and frankly really creepy, they, Woody does that great like everything, and the head spins all the way around, and he's like, so play nice, where I like that they actually cross that line. But when you're a kid, it's very redeeming because you know that Sid is likely gonna at least not keep blowing up, army men or whatever toy is around.
Yeah. That's an interesting point. I haven't even thought about that until now. I know that fear exists because recently, not all too recently, but they made the robot, artificial intelligence robot, this female apparently robot that can answer questions. Like they do interviews with the robot, and it's like programmed to
like Siri questions or like actual.
No, I don't know her name. I mean, I'm sure you can Google artificial robot female, whatever. I don't know, but yeah, and so they programmed her like eyebrows to it. Like they're programming her to like have facial responses to people's questions. It's pretty creepy, and it's the Small World ride at Disney World all over again. It's like,
but it's being like, stuck in the ride.
Nope. Sorry. Going back to the ghost stories real quick. Andy had one more story that she wanted me to share with you.
Okay.
So Andy and I met in college at Ball State University. Chirp, chirp.
Chirp, chirp.
There is a semi-famous hall in Ball State University called Elliott Hall. And anybody who went to Ball State knows what this is. It's basically it's kind of like a Hogwarts type of building. It's kind of creepy looking. Not very big, but people live residentially in Elliott Hall. And Andy she was meeting a friend at Elliott Hall. She went and was talking to her, and then all of a sudden she was kind of like, you know what? Like, I don't feel really good. Like, I kind of have a bad feeling. She's like, I don't want to be here. And she was just like, there's a lounge on the top floor that had like pool tables and stuff like that. And they went up there to hang out and just kind of, do college stuff. And Andy was like, basically like, I got to go. Like, I don't feel right. Like there's something wrong. And at this point in time, this is probably about 2010-ish timeframe. The legend of Elliott Hall was well known by a lot of people. It wasn't known by Andy, according to her. But basically, Andy left. She didn't feel very well. Not stomach or anything like that. She just didn't feel comfortable in that space.
Right. Yeah.
So she left kind of awkwardly, it feels like. And afterwards learned, I don't know if it was after she met me or what, because I knew the story very well. I think I have the story up, actually. So basically what happened in Elliott Hall is it's said to have had an eerie past that started with its christening in 1937. The building was named after Frank C. Ball's son, Frank Elliott Ball, who died in a plane crash, and the building is an exact replica of his dorm at Princeton University. So according to some reports, students who live on the third floor might wake up to strange noises in the middle of the night. Campus legend has it that on January 26, 1947, William Carl Schomburg hung himself from the rafters of the fourth floor after returning from World War II. The fourth floor is the floor that has the billiards and all the common area. His disfigured face and depression from a recent breakup with his girlfriend are said to have led to his suicide. Many students have claimed that they have heard a table being dragged across the floor or what could be feet dragging across the floor. Elliott Hall's haunting has sparked a yearly haunted house tradition that began in 1975. Anyway, she doesn't claim to know any of that when she visited.
Leave it to Americans of to be like, well, there's this legend of this guy that went through this terrible thing and had a terrible end. All right, we're gonna host some tours here. Get in line, $5 a ticket, no problem.
All right.
I do remember a friend of mine who would tell me though, he grew up in Brooklyn and I think Bay Ridge area or Sunset Park,
and he has family in Singapore, and every now and again they go visit. And I think some extended family member had died, so everyone's traveling to Singapore for the funeral. And according to legend, in the local apartment complex that his aunt and uncle lived in, there was this like young girl ghost that would like just walk around or whatever. And apparently my friend tells me that he remembers distinctly as a kid lying on the floor and hearing bare feet walking on in the apartment, to the point where like he did the old magical cover thing and puts it over himself. And and I remember he told this story to campfire, and I could just sense, including myself, everyone's just like, and he tells me that he could sense the person was standing right next to him, and just kind of staying there, and then eventually walked away. But like apparently this being, so-called, would be occupying the whole apartment complex and walk around. It's interesting. It's interesting.
Have you gotten goosebumps just from the stories that we've been telling?
Oh yeah. There's something about it that's just kind of like weirdly. It's like you can't help. It's kind of like watching a train crash where you're just like, well, it's going to happen. Right. Yeah. It's going to be a terrible outcome, but it's still like you're like, well, what happens, man? Tell me what happens.
Actually, I looked up what goosebumps actually are. And why they're called goosebumps. I didn't know this. Did you know why they're called goosebumps?
Well, I know that geese, like the skin of a goose, has like a weird, like pimply look to it.
Yeah. That's definitely it. I didn't even know that's why they called it goosebumps.
Oh, well, there you go.
Anyway, I'm going to read the definition. Tiny elevations of the skin that resemble the skin of poultry after the feathers have been plucked. Therefore, we could as well call them turkey bumps or duck bumps. These bumps are caused by...
Excuse me, I'm getting flamingo bumps right now.
Excuse me, my hermit thrush bumps are coming up. We just got off of our bird episode, so all of our birds are fresh in our mind. So these bumps are caused by a contraction of miniature muscles that are attached to each hair. Each contracting muscle creates a shallow depression on the skin surface, which causes the surrounding area to protrude.
How very scientific of you, sir.
Yes.
Frankly, I'm glad to know the definition about goosebumps, but still, I want to know like how it got so popular, because the book series, not actual Goosebumps, because that's not popular. That just happens. But
as much as a phenomenon is popular.
Well, so what's interesting to me is like, one, I feel like the world is honestly sometimes more terrifying than what is in books, and I think the difference is, which I find really interesting, is that news is so much more saturated within our everyday access, right? Like you can look up any kind of number of terrors on your phone, any kind of, and that doesn't even go to the like YouTubing paranormal activity. But so that's all I got to say about Goosebumps is I feel like nowadays, because there's so much access to all this scary stuff, I feel like Goosebumps itself is not as thrilling as it was in the 90s.
Honestly, I know that Goosebumps was a show that had kids. It was kids horror. which I'm still just like, what?
Yeah. Stranger Things is the closest equivalent I can think of, but
But
even then, it's like
it's not geared towards children.
I wouldn't have kids watch that. No.
Yeah, it's not geared towards children. It's just children actors. But all I remember is the lighter, right? Because it would be a lighter, and then the light would go out. I think that was the opening.
Is that the opening? Okay.
I'm pretty sure that was the opening, or maybe that was like how it ended or something. I don't know. All I remember is watching it at my babysitter's, and we weren't allowed to watch it, and I didn't really have a sheltered childhood, but our babysitter just didn't want us watching Goosebumps that day. And we did. And apparently we watched Freddy Krueger as well. So I remember being grounded because we did that. All right, I'm going to move us into movies. Because ultimately we get to movies anyway. A movie I did not get grounded to watching was Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Ah, yes, Casper the Friendly Ghost. I have a thing or two about
the opposite end of the spectrum.
Right. It's the same idea,
right,
but very different tone.
Gift wrapped.
Yeah. Ghost Story gift wrap. I like that.
Yeah.
Little pretty bow.
Let's just talk about it. Ghostbusters.
Of course. Ghostbusters.
I mean, we can't have a ghosts episode without talking about Ghostbusters.
So my question is anytime you hear someone's name named Dana, is the next thing you say is, oh, there is no Dana, only Zool.
Only Zool.
Oh, what a lovely singing voice you must have.
What an amazingly quotable movie. Definitely.
Yeah. Across the strips.
Applicable in many.
You said that was a bad idea.
Ray, when someone asks if you're a god, you say yes. Probably one of my favorites. We came, we saw, we kicked its ass. It's so good. Less known. This is one that was very popular with my family, definitely. One of the characters stops and looks at the stairs that go to the roof and says, "Where do these stairs go?"
They go up.
They go up.
or my personal favorite, listen. You smell something?
That's my next one. All right. Well, for everybody who has been watching and listening, thanks for tuning in and listening to two guys talk about ghosts for about an hour
and everything else. And of course, for everyone who's listening, please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Until next time, guys, be happy,
brew hoppy,
and game on.